Hello there, it's just me, your old buddy Grizzly Jim, and today I just want to do a quick little video about nocking point position, which hopefully you'll find quite useful. Okay, so you've gone and got yourself a new bow. I mean, you didn't get it in store, you bought it online, which is fine. But if you buy something in store, we tend to set it up for you, but it doesn't matter, you've gone rogue. You want to do it yourself, you're an independent person, that's fine. No one's going to judge you for that. But you want to get your bow up and running, you want to get shooting as quickly as possible. Where do you start? You need to put a nocking point on your string. And you know, where do you put a nocking point? So I thought I'd address that today with this little video. And yeah, so what you're going to need to get a nocking point on your bow is, ideally, you don't absolutely have to have one of these, but this is a really useful tool. This is a bow square or a brace and honey gauge. It goes by many names. But it's a really useful tool to have in your kit bag or in your quiver or whatnot, because not only can you measure your brace height and you can measure your tiller, it's also a really good indication of where you should put your nocking point when you're setting up your bow. Now, ideally what you want to find is square, your 90 degree from the shelf here. So that's what this line does here. If you follow this line down here, it's continued along here. So that's the bottom measurement. That is going to be your 90 degree line. That's kind of the baseline. Now, that's not where you want to put a nocking point. You want your nocking point to be higher than that baseline because of the way you shoot and things, or the way the arrow travels. You don't want anything perfectly straight, because what's going to happen is you're going to get something called ramping, where the back of the arrow hits the riser and kicks up, and you're not going to get a good arrow flight. So where above that do you put the nock? Now, a good jumping off point is about 1/8 of an inch higher than square. Now, there's a measurement here for it, which is 1/8 of an inch, which is the sort of second or third increment just up on this, this mark here. And now that would be a good place to try and put your nocking point, giving you a little bit of height on the back of that nock. But let's say you don't really work well with numbers. Let's say, you know, metric system, imperial system, it all gets confusing. I don't understand it. About 1/8 of an inch is the width of a nock. So I tend to look at what's square, and then I will move my nocking point up the width of a nock, and that will give me roughly my 1/8 of an inch higher than square. Now, that is a really good starting point. That's not necessarily exactly where it needs to be, but that's a really good starting point, because everybody's different. Everybody's bow's set up slightly different. Everybody shoots slightly different. So you've got to find a way that or a setup that works for you. But 1/8 of an inch higher than square is a good jumping off point. I happen to know the way I shoot, because I shoot 3 under. I tend to need a slightly higher nocking point than that, but that I know from experience that suits me. So instead of being sort of, I'll show you these are brass nocks. I really don't like these brass nocks, but they're quite useful for this sort of little demonstration. So that's 1/8 of an inch. So that's where I'd put the nock if I wanted to go 1/8 of an inch. I would tend to move it up a few more increments for me, because I shoot 3 under. So my nock would probably sit roughly in between the measurements there. But that's just me. That's the way I tend to shoot. That's what I tend to like. Some people, I've seen people with really high nocking points. I've seen people with sort of slightly lower nocking points. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, as long as you've tuned it to the way you like it. The way that gives you the best performance, the way that makes your arrows come out nice. Now, I'll do a whole thing on tuning, and some of that involves moving the nocking point up incrementally, higher or lower, which is why I really don't like these brass nocking points, because once you've crimped them on, they're on, and they're a bit of a pain in the arse to get off. So I tend to tie them on, and the way I do it is before I really lock them into place, they're almost like a nut on a screw, so you can sort of twist them up and down the serving, just to help you sort of tune that arrow in. But that's a whole different ball game. So yeah, I'll be looking at that at a later date. But yeah, just I guess I've spent a good chunk of time just saying that a good jumping off point is eighth of an inch higher than square. If you don't have a bracing height gauge, have I got anything here that I can show you? Anything with a right angle, you can put on the shelf for your bow onto your string that will give you a 90 degree, and then you just need to know you need to go just a little bit higher than that. But that's roughly where you want to start out. You can evolve it from there. You can try different things, but eighth of an inch higher than square is a good jumping off point. I hope you found that useful. I mean, I've been around the houses a bit trying to explain that, but there you go. That's that for you. But anyway, I hope you found it useful. You take care, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye bye.